Hey gang, Scott Sandland here with another fun conversation with a HypnoThoughts Live presenter. And I say conversation because this is definitely not an interview. Interviews require research and preparation and some sort of scripted planning and motive that's less sincere than this. This is actually just way more fun because it's a real conversation between two people who like each other so that you get to know the presenters a little bit better. The person I'm going to have this conversation with, you can see him to my right. Number one, he needs no introduction, which is kind of a curious thing on what he's doing here. So I'll ask him that in a minute because he is well-traveled, well-regarded, probably world-renowned as an instructor. And I'm really happy that he's been a friend of mine for a decade or so. And it's Sean Michael Andrews. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, although I'm genuinely not sure why I'm interviewing you because I think so many people who are watching this right now go, oh yeah, I know him, he's great. Did you bribe Stephanie? Like, how did you get on this agenda? Like, it's just, I'm not complaining because I'm going to do it. How'd you do it?
I just said, Stephanie, I'd love to participate, and here we are.
That's as easy as that, yeah. You know, what, have you and I known each other 10 years?
I think so. I think so. We met in Los Angeles probably about 10 years ago.
I remember, I don't know if this was the first time we met. I think it wasn't. Was the Brian David Phillips street hypnosis walkabout thing?
I think that might have been the first time we met.
Okay.
Because that was right around, gosh, HypnoThoughts had just launched or had launched fairly recently. Yeah.
Yeah. HypnoThoughts was maybe a year old at that event, but like it was still, you know, it's still very much in its infancy. You know, the first 4 months don't really count.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for that long. Were you doing street hypnosis stuff before that event?
Yeah, I was, and I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to meet people and of course get out on the streets. So yeah, and it was really good. And actually, Brian is so good at that, and I picked up a lot of stuff from Brian. He's very good at this.
He's so good at it. Brian, like in my head, when you make lists of most well-read hypnotists,
Yes.
and then hypnotists who can create content fast, and then hypnotists who can create high quality content. If you take all three of those categories, I think Brian has to be at the top of the list if you're factoring all three in. He's got so much up there.
He does, and I don't know, he is such a hypnosis scholar, and yeah, amazing guy.
Yeah. Oh, let me close something because I have my Facebook open to message you the link to this.
Okay.
That's how sincere what we're doing here is, guys. All of a sudden, I just got a Facebook message from someone else.
Watching, that's high.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Brian's awesome. He's come to HypnoThoughts Live before, but it's a long trek for him, and it doesn't really fit in his business model, but he's just awesome. We'd love to have him back. So when I think of you, you know, everyone talks about you as world's fastest hypnotist, right? Because you have the website. And you did a Reddit AMA on this. You didn't ask me anything as world's fastest hypnotist. And I signed up for Reddit to ask you a question.
You did? Wow, I missed it.
Yeah, I've been on Reddit a bunch of times, but I just never bothered creating a profile. And then I saw that you were doing the thing. I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I posted the question. I don't even remember if you answered it. It was so long ago. But we think of you as world's fastest hypnotist. That's the URL and all that. That's not how I think of you. Yeah, you've got speed, and yeah, you've got street, and yeah, you've got all those things. But I really think you should get the website World's Most Fundamentally Sound Hypnotist. Have you considered this as a marketing angle?
Is that catchy?
I don't know if it's got the ring to it as fastest, but I think a lot of your success, both as a practitioner and as an instructor, really comes from your emphasis internally and externally on fundamentals. Is that fair?
It is, and that I can definitely attribute to the people who taught me. I was very fortunate. I had some of the best instructors in the world when I was coming up, and so my gosh, I mean, and they taught me the fundamentals. You know, Jerry Kine, Gil Boyne, you know, Grinder and Bandler and all these people. And so, yeah, it was extremely fortunate. So, so that's just a tip for anybody out there who's starting in the profession. I'd say, do a good internet search and find really good instructors, and you can't go wrong. There are a lot of good instructors out there.
Yeah, there are right now.
And so it really makes a difference in your success when you learn fundamentals from people who really know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I remember assigning that attribute to you in my head right when HPTI got started, because I was watching so many intro to hypnosis videos. You know, I was watching dozens and dozens of people hypnotizing, like one of their first 5 times ever hypnotizing someone. I was watching that video. So, you know, there's a lot of good and bad in there. And so I was looking for fundamentals to kind of give them feedback on, right? And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's not there yet, and their pattern still sucks, and, you know, but you're looking for the fundamentals.
Right.
And it just so happened that there was an IMDHA conference, like within a couple of months of that happening. And you were doing a talk. It wasn't like you were doing the show, because you did the show like a couple of years after that. But you were just doing a talk, and you were just doing like an arm pull or like some rapid induction. Like it was something not earth shattering, you know, but as you did it, I was just watching. It was like, see, that is technically each thing he did it the best way you could in that situation. Like, and there's so many opportunities for you to do, like, I can get away with any of these 5 things, and I can get away with any of these 5 things, and any of these 5 things, but you made like invisible little choices, like with your footwork. And I always tell people to watch your footwork. Really, people watching this, Sean Michael Andrews has the best footwork of any hypnotist I've ever seen. And so like, I watched it and I really appreciate that about you. How much time do you spend, or did you spend, measuring that in yourself, or like watching footage of yourself or whatever?
Well, actually, a lot of that came from doing street hypnosis, because, you know, I got to do the inductions over and over and over again. And I tell people that if you have a thriving practice, you're going to see maybe, usually, you know, 5-6 people a day. Yeah. You're going to do 5-6 inductions, but you go out and you do street hypnosis, and you're going to hypnotize, oh my gosh, you could hypnotize 30 people in the course of a couple of hours. Yeah. And so when you do it over and over and over again, then you can really perfect it. You know, where exactly should your feet be? What angle should you have so you can see their eyes? And where should you be? Where should you be so you can protect them just in case they get wobbly in the knees and you have to catch them? So I'd say it was from street hypnosis, doing inductions over and over. And then the other thing is from when I do my experiments, you've heard me say this before, I don't like to call it research, because when you say research, people expect that you're going to do good documentation, which I don't. Right. Brian probably would do good documentation. I do not.
Yeah, he'd be much more scholarly. He'd be inquisitive.
So anyway, so I've done a lot of experiments on hypnotizability and inductions and that sort of thing. So I'd say mostly just dumb old doing it a million times. That's probably where it come from.
Now, do you ever watch your own, like, because you've got a lot of products, right? And like DG's shot a bunch of video of you and all that. Do you watch it?
No, I don't. I not really. I mean, I'll watch it as we're editing the video, just to make sure that it's right. But no, I don't really like to watch myself. It's just from repetition.
Okay. Yeah, because I know there are some people. I was talking to another hypnotist, not related to this interview series, but just talking. And he said, Scott, one of these days you're going to have to teach me how to watch video of myself without hating myself. Because I watch everything I do, like in not an egocentric way. Like I really watch it as game footage. Like, and I really audit myself and like critique myself on it. Like I'm not doing it to like pat myself on the back. Like I'm right. And he's like, it's really cool that you can do that. When I do that, I just like, I feel my skin crawl watching myself on a screen. Do you just, is it just because you're too busy, or do you actually dislike it?
I don't dislike it. It's when I watch myself on video, I'm not watching what I'm doing. I'm watching the other things, you know, what's the crowd shot look like? What's the effect that happens to the person that I'm hypnotizing? But it's funny. I look around myself. I look at other things. Perhaps in watching in that way, this kind of peripheral way, perhaps I'm gaining some insight as to what I do, but consciously I'm not really going for that.
Sure. So switching topics, you're back in America. You were in Germany?
In Germany last week, yeah.
And you were living in Germany as well, but now you're back in America and you
Yes.
set up the practice again. Are you still doing the practice, or are you just doing the training and the stage street stuff?
Mainly I'm doing the training and then also my experiments.
Okay.
So I'm not actively seeing clients right now, but I mean, that's the beauty of this.
You can make it whatever you want.
Exactly. You know, and sometimes since I like to do different things, you know, sometimes I'm really into doing stage shows and I can go after that. And sometimes I'm really into doing therapy and I can dive into that. And sometimes I want to concentrate on teaching or experiments. So it's a dream job.
Like, I remember a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was, when you put up on Facebook that you were like opening the office, right?
Yes.
I don't remember exactly when it was. Maybe it was further along. I don't know. Whenever that was, I saw that and I go, is he going to do 5 days of clients a week? I just don't see that who he is as a person. But I was intrigued. But this sounds right. Like, this sounds really congruent with experimentation, training, travel. You get to bounce around.
Yeah. I've done a lot of traveling, and one of the things I'm hoping to do is kind of cut down a bit on the travel.
Really?
And so probably, you know, that's why I'm starting to do the classes more here in Augusta, Georgia. I mean, I'm still going to travel several times per year, but maybe not as much.
Cool. And in my head, just with free association, when you're going to these events, your wife comes with you. Is that usually the case?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I've met her a bunch of times. She's awesome.
Yes. Oh, she is. And she actually, something good, she's going to retire in 2 months.
Oh,
Even
more.
No problem with her traveling with me. So yeah, we're both really excited about that. She retires in June.
Good for her. Good for her. And so, you know, I don't know. I've met your wife a ton of times. We've had meals together and hung out and all that stuff. She's great. Does she get sick of hypnosis? Is she genuinely interested, or is she just supportive because she loves you?
I think it's because she loves me. She's willing to hear me talk about hypnosis all the time. She backs me up. You know, she takes care of the book. She keeps me in line, makes sure I'm where I need to be when I need to be there. She's just wonderful. And so when she retires, then we'll work together and she can really organize me. And wow, I don't know what's going to happen then.
Does that mean she's going to like put you to work and like run you into the ground of just doing as much hypnosis as like cramming it all in?
Probably not. Probably not. She's good at helping me to keep some sort of balance. Right. So no, we'll just be far better organized, and probably life will be even better. So yeah.
All right, that's probably right. And you're a dad. You've got 2 sons who I've met a bunch of times. Great sons. And how are they doing, by the way?
They're doing great. They're doing great. One of them, our Air Force kid, is just been reassigned. He's going to go to Texas in about a month. And then our Navy kid is, Navy Reserve kid now, is a couple of hours away. So
nice.
So we'll be in touch and that sort of thing. So yeah, they're doing well.
Are they both linguists, something like that?
Yeah, they are.
I knew they were in language somewhere in the military. That's cool.
Yeah. You know what? It's a shame. Most Americans are not into foreign languages. I mean, I just got back from Germany, and it's regular for a European to speak, 4 or 5 languages.
Right.
And not for us. It's the joke. The joke in Europe is, what do you call someone who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. What do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. And what do you call somebody who speaks 1 language? American. It's such a shame, but yeah, we're big language proponents.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like ethnocentric of us that we're like, well, just learn ours. But it's so much cooler when you hang out with people who speak other languages, because like there's all those cliches of like Eskimos have 100 words for snow, which isn't literally true, of course, but
right.
like you can get a lot out of a culture by understanding some of their linguistics, and there are some words that just work better and meanings work better in other languages. And so I think that if you have more of those Lego pieces, you can understand the world better than, you know, us dummies that, you know, are 1 and a couple years of Spanish in high school.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It really gives you a different perspective on the world when you can speak another language. So yeah, we need to, I don't know, we need to push that, but we'll see.
We'll put that on the top of the list of things we need to do better. So here's just a weird thought, like coming back to the idea of fundamentals, if I may.
Yes.
You teach a lot of people hypnosis, right? Like you teach it everywhere. Are the fundamentals culturally oriented? Like how close? I know some cultures, proximity when you're talking, like there's close talking and far talking as an example. Are there things that you would do either clinically or street that are different depending on country and culture?
Okay, not too much. Well, obviously here's the cool thing about instant inductions, right? I only need to know one word in that language.
Sure.
You know? Portuguese it's durma, and
Right.
and in Russian it's stat, and I only need one word.
And it works, and it doesn't.
It works beautifully. You can do an induction, a hypnotic induction, by knowing one word in the language. So that's cool. But excuse me, as far as the mechanics of the induction in a different culture, no, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, it's I mean, when you're interacting with them, yeah, I mean, some of them Germans will get a lot closer to you,
Right.
But no, in doing the inductions, really, there's not too much difference.
Okay. In teaching it, and there's no difference there either. Like the students are the students.
Yeah, I guess the only thing for an American is getting used to doing either simultaneous translation or consecutive translation. And if you know enough of the language, it makes it a little bit easier when you're doing consecutive, because you know you understand that he's just finished translating your exact thing that you just said, so you can go on. But no, it's no, really, it's probably surprising, but there really is little difference in that.
Yeah, getting the cadence of working through an interpreter is an interesting thing, right?
Yeah.
Without like going on to a monologue and you talk for like 5 minutes and the person just does like one sentence and you're like, oh, okay.
I have had that happen sometimes. You know, I get it because, you know, when I'm teaching, I get excited because I get this idea and I just want to go, and I'll get talking, and then finally I realize my translator is looking at me, waiting. You know, are you gonna give me
just like looking at their watch and like trying to get big eyes?
Sometimes that happens, but not too often.
So, here's a fun thing. Okay, so genuinely, one of the things that I think of when I think of you is the ice bucket challenge, because you ice bucket challenged me. I don't even know if you remember this.
Yeah,
I had to dump a bucket of ice cold water on my head because of you. Was that 5 years ago? I don't even remember.
It was when I was in Germany, so it probably was about 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if people remember the ice bucket challenge. It was for ALS, which we call Lou Gehrig's disease in America, but they don't call it that in Germany because they don't play baseball. And it was this thing: you'd take a bucket of ice cold water and you dump it on yourself to promote awareness and all this stuff. And it became this viral thing that ended up raising a ton of money for ALS, which I was skeptical that it would do a good thing, and it did a wonderful thing. It was really cool.
It did.
And Hypnotist got way into it. Like there was a ton of us that did the whole thing. And the reason I bring that up is because the guy who discovered ALS is a hypnotist.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, he's a neurologist named Jean-Martin Charcot. And this guy,
great name.
Yeah, is Charcot. It actually, in a lot of Europe, ALS is not named after Lou Gehrig. It's named after Charcot. This one guy discovered ALS, MS, came up with the concept behind hysteria that was the origins of the vibrator, and was a big time hypnotist. Like, that's an interesting dude.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean that Charcot?
Yeah,
mean,
that Charcot.
I did not. Okay, I did not know that they had discovered or categorized or whatever ALS that far back, because he was back in the 1800s, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that Charcot that some hypnotists know, and the reason it came into my head was because of Brian David Phillips, because Brian David Phillips is the guy who turned me on to knowing anything about Charcot and, old world hypnosis, like pre-American hypnosis. Charcot is one of the names that belongs on that list. And Brian's the one who told me to do research on it. And that's the same guy. Now, they didn't understand all the meanings or why, but that's the dude.
Wow.
So, yeah, you want to talk about a guy who got busy in neurology.
That's cool. And it makes sense that you would have gotten that from Brian.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just connecting things. So for you, when you're looking at your experiments, are you looking for just efficacy? Are you looking for curiosity? Are you looking at making things better? Or are you just looking at, can this work? What are you doing?
Okay. My experiments, a lot of the research that I've read is, let's see, mine is more practical. Things like the one that I ran the most people through was how hypnotizability. I mean, because if you're doing hypnosis on the street, how do you know if somebody is going to go into hypnosis for you? Because if they don't, you kind of could look like a fool. Although I've got ways to get around that so you can't look like a fool. But how do you tell somebody who's hypnotizable? And so it's wow. I mean, what I found is that certain ethnicities are highly hypnotizable. Some let's see, age, we've known for years, and we've known for a century that age is important in hypnotizability. I experiment for effect. How can I do my job better? And what can I do? How can I refine an induction so that somebody is more likely to go into hypnosis? So I'd say mine are more like blue collar research experiments rather than these lofty things that I really don't understand.
You and I were driving to an airport after a conference years ago. And it was just the two of us in a car driving to the airport to go back home after a conference. And it was the first time you and I had actually talked about these experiments. And like the first thing that it conjured in my head is is the opposite of blue collar, not ivory tower institution, university research, but like you getting people out. We quickly got past this, but in my first head, it was you just getting people off Craigslist. You're like, yes, come in, I want to try stuff. And they're like, oh. I couldn't figure out how they said, yeah. And so the more we talked about it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But how do you get someone to say yes to, I want to experiment on hypnosis on you? How do you get that?
Okay, well, on the street, NLP is wonderful. NLP rapport building techniques are, my God, they changed my life. I mean, honest to God, when I started learning NLP back in 1987, it changed my life. You would not have known me if you met me back then. I was it was I was the most socially awkward. I liked people, but I could not relate. And when I learned NLP rapport building techniques, it just opened up the whole world to me. And
that's cool.
I could approach people, and they would see me and they go, I think this guy's okay. He looks pretty harmless. He doesn't look like he looks friendly. I trust him. And it was all NLP rapport building techniques. So that's the biggie. That as far as people wanting to, if you come off as creepy, they're not going to want to do hypnosis with you. But if you just learn a couple of techniques, they just open up, they just blossom, and they're more than willing to do the hypnosis with you. And wow, I mean, That's a biggie, a real biggie.
That's such a cool story of the ability to say, okay, being a nice person, being, a good guy, but not having whatever that is, social interaction piece in your life the way you wanted it, and finding like tangible structural technique that you could then like internalize, that like unlocked the world. And like
it absolutely did. I always recommend a book and a really good intro, Michael Brooks, Instant Rapport.
Yeah, I know the book. It's a good one.
I love that book. It's a great intro to rapport building, and it could change somebody's life. It's certainly those sort of techniques certainly changed my life. And oh yeah, I'm so much happier, because of that.
To me, you're always this sort of just affable, happy, sincerely interested person. Like that's just how I've always known you. And so obviously I met you after all that technique was internalized. Oh, I had a question. And it's just, this is it. Like, there's got to be a bunch of people watching this who only know you like as the famous Shawn Michael Andrews, who've got to be like amazed that there was like an introverted, unable to just walk up to anyone and yell sleep at them. So how much do you explain that to your students and like give them that as like a narrative that they can believe in for themselves?
Well, I certainly speak to them about the rapport building techniques, because that's essential. Once you've established rapport, you can do anything. I mean, very easy. But it's funny. I think most of my students are far better at rapport building than I was way back in 1987. I mean, that's how socially awkward and introverted I was. So I'll give them tips on how they can present this and to come off as it's just not creepy. Right. But I do give them also like one of my favorite tricks if you want to hypnotize somebody is somebody else to tell them you're a hypnotist. This is one of my favorite ones. You have a friend, the friend goes up to him and says, hey, don't look into Sean's eyes. Why would I not look into Sean's eyes? Because he's a hypnotist. Oh, really? And then from there, boom, you're in. And
so like social proofs to get you in rather than you doing
the second party thing is just, it's beautiful. And got to remember, so many times I've used this and just to set up a friend, don't look into his eyes. And the next thing he's hypnotizing all these people. And yeah, so I don't know, I guess the search for those kind of techniques also is probably born of my introversion and social awkwardness from many years ago. But yeah, because I'm still introverted. As a matter of fact, I always look for ways that I can make it easier to get people to do hypnosis with me. Like we'll have a sign, we'll have, maybe shirts that say I'm a hypnotist, or just all these things to keep introverted me from freaking out when I have to walk up to a perfect stranger and say, can I hypnotize you?
But that's so cool, because like you're saying, in my core, I still have this introversion.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to let it stop me from doing the thing I really want to do.
Yes.
And so when you talk to other people, they say like, well, I can't because this or that, or any of, the excuses we tell ourselves, like you're absolutely not letting what could be a problem ever become an excuse for you. And you're just finding the workarounds and working hard, like really hard sometimes, to like overcome whatever self-limiting issues could be there.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You mentioned Reddit earlier. I read something on Reddit a couple days ago that was really really interesting. It was they compared introverts and extroverts, and they said, and it's as if introverts are battery powered and extroverts are solar powered. And I thought, wow, I like that. That's kind of cool, because
well, I've learned about myself in the last 2 years that I'm an introvert, and I never knew this about myself until 2 years ago. And it's really true. Like, because when it's time to be on, I can totally be on and do all the stuff.
Oh, yeah,
but,
you can.
But I really need privacy, and I really need quiet time, which is why I like the way I structure my client time so well, where I have big breaks of just silence in my day. And like I'll do like 3 clients back to back, and then have like half an hour to an hour of just silence. And I need that to do my next 2 or 3 clients. And like I won't go to lunch with a buddy. Like I'll just be silent so that I can recharge my batteries. That's totally right.
Interesting. It's kind of cool though. A lot of people watching this will say, "Scott's an introvert." No, I can't.
The 2 of us are introverts. Like that's gotta be the world's fastest hypnotist, and the guy who built the meeting up for hypnotists,
the biggest one in the world.
Yeah. So here's a thought that I had, actually, another thing I read on Reddit about that made me think of you, and it was about John Stockton. Because I'm a big basketball fan. Like I love basketball. And John Stockton, one of the best passing point guards in NBA history, right? He played with Karl Malone, to those of you who don't care about basketball. Great. He was really, really good. He's a first ballot.
Okay, all right.
He would do this thing where he would like put up like a small like box on the wall of the gym. And he would do 100 passes consecutively. It had to get in that box. So 100 behind the back passes, had to hit the box and come back to it, and right to where he wanted it, 100 in a row. 100 between the leg passes, 100 bounce passes, 100. And if he missed one, he started the 100 over. And he did that every day.
Wow.
And he did that, and he would have to be present for all 100. Because if your mind starts to wander, you could miss one and then have to start over. And he would do that on top of NBA practices, right? Like even when he was obviously a Hall of Famer, he was still doing that. When other guys were like practicing free throws, he practiced passing. And like going back to what I think of when I think of you and your fundamentals, I really think of that, because no one talks about the importance of a good bounce pass. No one talks about like making sure the ball is, you're passing it to the guy so he's in a shooting position and all that stuff. But the players who are all really great all appreciate that about each other. Like Kobe Bryant's fundamentals, everyone says he's probably got the best footwork in the history of the game. Like they talk about his athleticism, but like the real guys like the Tracy McGrady's of the world say, no, it was his footwork that makes him better than LeBron in a one-on-one. His footwork's better. And I think that there's a lot of things in our profession that work that way, where like you can see the 3-pointer or the big slam dunk as the rapid induction or the big outcome or whatever, but having all the little footwork pieces and the bounce pass pieces and the right fundamentals, I think like without that, you can have a couple highlights, but you can't have a career. And to have a career like you had, you have to have that foundation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it makes me think about a lot of hypnotists will chase trainings and techniques and that sort of thing, and they never get, unfortunately, they never get the fundamentals down, and so they never actually get to that spot that they want to get to. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The fundamentals are, well,
it's like the kids that want to be Steph Curry. So they're just shooting threes from as far out as possible instead of learning how to like penetrate and dish, right? Or whatever the thing is. And so they can't actually have the career. So bringing that back into the realm of hypnosis, I think of the Element Induction as like a real cliche intro induction that most hypnotists learn for a lot of good reasons. I think you did probably more than probably any other hypnotist to bring Larry and Cheryl Elman back into the training world and promoting them and getting the material that they had from Larry's father, Dave Elman, like, out back into the world. Can you talk about that for a minute? Just share how that all happened.
I like to say I ruined their retirement. They had a fine life in kind of semi-retirement, and when I found them, now suddenly they've traveled to 17 different countries to teach. And yeah, I was doing a hypnosis meeting, and I was supposed to give a talk on the Dave Element Induction. So I was doing internet search, and I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at research, and I was looking for any little tidbits about Dave Elman that hadn't been rehashed forever. And I found a reference to a guy named Larry Elman. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. I've never seen references to any other elements. And then I found a link to a retirement community in Florida. And then I followed that to a story about a fellow who retired from the Air Force. And then I found something with that same guy who got married. And then I found references to a craft business in North Carolina. And then I found something about, well, anyway, all the stuff. And finally I got a telephone number. And I called.
I mean, you traced that down. I mean, that was real work.
I tracked him down, like, yeah, I was. Anyway, so I found a telephone number. So I called it, and this guy answered, and I said, "Excuse me, are you related to Dave Ellman?" And he said, "Well, yeah, it's my father. Was my father." And I said, "Really? Can I come down and interview you?" And so I hopped in the car, and 5 hours later, I was down in North Carolina with my video camera, interviewing him and finding out.
That day, you just jumped right down?
Well, actually, it was probably the next day.
Still,
I gave him a little time, you know. So yeah, I was down in their basement interviewing him, and Cheryl made us lunch, and it was really wonderful. And I mean, his father, he knew his father was famous because his father was like famous here. But I think what he wasn't aware of was how big his father's hypnosis knowledge was now in the present.
Yeah, the legacy. Yeah.
Legacy, yeah, because you know, well, everybody knows about Dave Ellman. So anyway, so I got him to go to a hypnosis convention, and then that's it. Now he's traveling. Oh, but the great thing is he shared so many things about his father and about his father's work, and I mean, just stuff that just wasn't out there, like Dave Ellman's migraine cure. That wasn't out there, and now it is. So yeah, it was just great. I learned so much from them. So yeah, so that's kind of the story of how I ruined their retirement.
You totally did. And if there's anyone whose retirement I would want ruined, it's Larry's.
Yeah. He didn't need that.
No, I mean, what, he's like an Air Force colonel or something like that. That guy hasn't earned anything. Yeah. But that's so cool. Like, so one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this series of like conversations that I'm getting to have, in addition to how candid they are and just like getting to talk to friends like this, which is great, but listening to how many of the people who are really good, like, are genuine like students of it and who actually care about like the deep nerdiness of it all, right? Like, and it's so easy to just talk about, like, you know, I'm in my office here, like this is where I see clients, and it's so easy to just stop at this. And you're like, how good am I at seeing clients? I'm good enough to make a living. All right, that means I know enough about hypnosis to keep seeing clients every day for the rest of my life. I can do that. Cool. But that mindset doesn't get me the office, right? Like that mindset isn't enough. Like you have to, like, I think in this profession more than a lot of others, because there's a craft component to it, and like there's a craftsmanship, that we have to be a little bit obsessive about it, and like not about all of it, but about our pieces. And it's so fun to listen to people talk about like endeavors that they've gone to because they've geeked out on a thing, or like or like pick the person who, like, you go, you know, like I just interviewed Kaz Riley. And she's talking about, you know, she's teaching with Freddie Jackman, and I'm like, why is the sex person and the pain person teaching a class together? And she talked to, and we just talked about like how she listened to
I'm scared.
Stuff, and like, but it's all about like presence and freedom and sensual. And it was like, it was this wonderful philosophy thing. And I was like, see, that's like, I really want to impress upon people who are watching this, like that level of like, it doesn't matter where you point it, but like that there's a sincere interest beyond just change work, right? Like there's a sincere curiosity, which is why you're doing experiments.
Right, and also the you know, the getting together with your fellow hypnotist, and the sharing of ideas, and which is of course why Hypnothoughts Live is so wonderful, because you get with these people. Unfortunately, it's only once a year, but we get to talk, we get to interact, we get to share ideas and that sort of thing, and Yeah, I mean, that's how we really learn.
And you get to like, one of the things when we switched to just being an online website to being this in-person thing, is the ability to like go grab a beer, right? and not like you and I've done with your sons at the end. that wasn't grabbing one beer. That was grabbing all the beers.
Yeah, all the beers.
That was an excessive. I think we all agree with that. But like genuinely just getting to be people together and like realizing that there's this kindred component. Which brings us to the conference.
Yes.
So you are teaching a 2-day pre or a 1-day pre?
Yeah, a 2-day pre-conference on street hypnosis. That'll be on the Wednesday and the Thursday, I believe, before the conference.
Yep.
And so yeah, we'll be doing street hypnosis, instant inductions, that sort of thing, and then go out on the street.
So you're going to take them to like Fremont or something?
We last year what we did is kind of merged. And we went to 3 different places, and thank God for cell phones. And then we coordinated. Okay, the police presence here is really heavy, so yeah, we're gonna back out of here. And we're gonna go. So no arrests. We've never had an arrest, so that's always good. Because normally what we'll do is we're fortunate we've got a couple of police officers or former police officers that are also hypnotists, and I invite them in to kind of brief us on how to do street hypnosis and not get arrested. And
because
so
it's the busking thing, right? Like a permit for
yeah,
that?
There are a lot of things. Yeah, there's the thing. So Fremont Street can be an issue, and some other areas can be an issue, but it's okay. I mean, I keep up on the rules and the laws, so we can. Like I say, no arrests so far. Steph just got here. Hi, babe. She's wondering.
I said hi, by the way.
I said hi. Scott says hi. So yeah, she's wondering why the first thing she heard when she walked in here was no arrests so far.
Perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so we're doing that, and then I have a 1 hour, I think, during the conference on, I believe it's instant inductions.
So I want to make sure that people who are watching this who would normally just go, yeah, but I don't want to do street hypnosis. Like your class isn't for people who just want to go out there and do street hypnosis once they go home. There's a lot of clinical skill and a lot of soft skills that are like one-to-one transferable.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that the ability to do a demonstration. You can go to a service club like the Rotary or the Kiwanis or something like that and give a talk to promote your hypnotherapy business. And then if you really want to get the clients, you can use some of these street hypnosis skills to just wow the crowd, and they just want to do sessions with you when they see what an amazing hypnotist you are.
When you think about, so to the people watching this who are like, I'm nervous. Okay. Sean and I both talked about the fact that we're both introverts. Sean's talked about the amount of effort he put in and the thought he puts in to like not letting that get in the way of helping people. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a hypnotist who's like, I'm not comfortable going to the Rotary or the BNIs, that business network.
BNIs, yeah.
Or any of those things, or the Chamber of Commerce or whatever. You're like, I'm afraid someone's going to ask me to do a thing I'm not ready for. Mm-hmm. Just like you could sign up for this class, take this class, and just know you've got that just in case. Not that you're going to do street hypnosis, but if in the event that someone asked you to prove it, you could. Like that's got to be peace of mind for a lot of hypnotists who are getting started.
Oh yeah, because one of the things we emphasize is how to not fail. Because if you use a few little tricks, just little tricks, there's no way. I mean, I've never failed. I can't fail because I know who to pick, and I show where they sit, and I show how they act. And so when you're doing a demonstration, it's impossible to fail.
Right. If you know how to set it up in like pre-frame rather than reframe and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's just for somebody, I'm always scared, but since I know how to find the right people, and it's really simple to do, I can't fail. So it's even introverted me can go out there and perform.
Well, this has been a ton of fun. We're right up on time. I think we probably went on a little bit long, but I like to give the guests the final word. So if there's anything you want to say to a couple thousand people, now is your opportunity.
You got me stumped here. Come to Hypno Thoughts Live. It's the biggest convention of hypnotists in the world and the friendliest. So and all right, okay, here we go. I'm an introvert, so please come say hi to me, because I'm probably too introverted to come up and say hi to you. So yeah, do that.
So always good to see you. To the hypnotist who gave himself 3 first names, always fun to hang out. Everybody else who's watching this, I'll see you on the next one. Hit share, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Scott.